My maid and my husband secretly had an affair. After marrying him, I discovered their treachery. Not only did they collude to swallow my family's wealth, they also harmed my blood kin. In the end, they imprisoned me and tormented me in every way possible. I died in a sea of flames. But then, I was reborn. Back to when I was 16, right when Qin Jian came to propose. At that time, he swore before my father that it was love at first sight. I sneered silently, was it love for me at first sight, or for my maid? Qin Jian and his parents came to our manor bearing lavish betrothal gifts. I hid behind the inner hall, eavesdropping. She's a well-mannered, sensible girl, his parents said. A rare find indeed. If they marry, we will treat her like our own daughter. Qin Jian grinned flatteringly, clearly eager for the match. At the time, they desperately needed the dowry from my noble family to pay off their debts. But they didn't yet realize, the girl they were trying to marry wasn't me. My parents didn't agree immediately. As planned, they led Qin Jian to the back courtyard while continuing polite conversation with his parents out front. Master Chen. I appeared, bringing my maid Lu Huan with me. He froze upon seeing Lu Huan dressed as a servant. Bewildered, he asked, "Who are you?" "I'm Li Qingning," I replied. He pointed at Lu Huan, confused. "Then who is she?" I looked at Lu Huan, who lowered her head like a scolded quail. "She's my maid. Her name is Lu Huan." Qin Jian stood stunned, still not grasping the situation. I continued, "Lu Huan told me everything. When you met her at Longhua Temple, you mistook her for me. She fell in love with you but was too afraid of rejection to confess." Lu Huan looked up at him with hopeful eyes, cheeks tinged with bashful red. He stepped forward, gazing at her with helpless affection. "You silly girl. I never loved you for your status." Lu Huan wept like rain. "I feared you'd think I was greedy and would abandon me. Do you think I'm that kind of man?" he asked. Then they embraced each other passionately. The display was so cloying I nearly gagged. Moments later, they knelt before me, hand in hand. "Miss Li, I've loved Huaner from the beginning. Please let us be together." I smiled and helped them up. I don't force affection. My parents have accepted her as a goddaughter. She can marry as a noble lady now. But your parents? You'll have to explain it to them yourself. Qin Jian beamed. "Miss Li, you are truly magnanimous. You'll surely find your true match one day." He turned to take care of his family. But Lu Huan, she had once been my closest servant. I had no siblings, so I treated her like family. Whatever was delicious, whatever was beautiful, I shared it all with her. But I forgot a basic truth, human greed knows no bounds. A snake will swallow even an elephant if it can. In my previous life, when I went to Longhua Temple, Qin Jian fell for her at first sight. She had even seen his portrait when my mother arranged our meeting. Yet she deliberately impersonated me and seduced him behind my back. On our wedding night, when he lifted my veil and saw me instead of her, he flew into a rage and stormed off. He never returned that night. Only when he took Lu Huan in as his concubine did I discover the affair. It was then that I realized how deeply she had always resented me. She couldn't bear to see me live well. She incited Qin Jian again and again to humiliate and torment me. She even used the child in her womb to frame me. After marrying Qin Jian, my name in the capital fell into ruin. Everyone said the Marquis of Dingyuan was cursed to have married a shrew. One who abused her in-laws by relying on her mother's noble background. Soon after, my father was framed and imprisoned. Not long after, word came that he had hanged himself in prison. My mother died of heartbreak. I lost everything. Living in that hellish Marquis residence, I often wanted to follow them in death. But Lu Huan came to me with a smirk and gloated. She told me it was all their plan, from the beginning. They had orchestrated everything. My father's death, my mother's illness, all part of their scheme. I hated them to the core. I wanted to drag them to hell with me. But what could I do alone? In the end, they burned me alive. After death, perhaps my resentment was too deep, my soul did not fade. It lingered over the capital, drifting. I saw a junior official from the Ministry of Justice request to investigate my father's case. A mere fifth-rank officer, what could he do? I laughed bitterly, hopeless. But he succeeded. He found the evidence proving Chen Jian's crime. His name was Lu Xing. I remembered it well. I never understood why he did so much for my family. By then, my soul was fading, and I had no strength left to wonder. Lu Huan, look closely. These wedding gifts I prepared, they were meant for you. Now that you're marrying as the noble daughter of the Duke's family. Don't you dare bring shame to that title. Lu Huan panicked and hurriedly accepted the golden hairpin I had specially prepared for her. Thank you, my lady. My lady, I've wronged you. She bowed her head in shame. Don't cry, I said softly, tapping her nose like a sister might. Today is your happy day. Don't cry till your eyes are all swollen like a little kitten. She nodded, eyes brimming with grateful tears. My lady's kindness. I can never repay in this lifetime. I wiped her tears gently. Don't be silly. I've always treated you like my own sister. From now on, the Duke's Manor is your maternal home. Red silk lined the streets for 10 miles. 8 men carried the bridal sedan, and the procession stretched as far as the eye could see. Chen Jian looked at Lu Huan with a love so deep it could move mountains, or at least impress onlookers. No, she should be called Li Huan now. The day I was reborn, I could still feel the searing pain of being burned alive. The smell of charred flesh seemed to linger in the air. I had to soak in ice water for half an hour just to stop the phantom agony. All the pain, hatred, and betrayal of my past life. This life, I will make them repay it 100-fold. Days passed after the wedding, and Lu Huan stopped showing up for her duties. I knew it was because of the pregnancy, her condition was delicate. By now, the child must be almost 3 months along. So I brought a physician with me under the pretense of concern and asked him to take her pulse. The result stunned everyone. My mother pointed at her and shouted, "Wretched girl! Whose child is this?" Lu Huan collapsed to the floor, kowtowing furiously. But no matter how much she was pressed, she refused to name the man. Lu Huan, I said with gentle concern, I've always treated you like a sister. Why can't you tell me? No matter who the father is, I will make sure you receive justice. Hearing this, her eyes flickered with calculation, though her expression remained hesitant. Do you want your child to be born nameless and shamed? I asked. My mother grabbed my hand, face stern. Enough. No more soft words. This disgrace, she should be beaten to death and swept from this house. No. Please don't. Lu Huan turned pale, trembling uncontrollably. It was the Marquis of Dingyuan. The child is his. She spilled everything. My mother reeled. You seduced the fiancé of your lady. Our Li family treated you with kindness. Lu Huan sobbed pitifully. It was a moment of weakness. I beg you, my lady, please spare me. I lowered my gaze and quietly assessed her. She was pretty, skin pale as snow, face no bigger than a palm. Crying, she looked tragically delicate. No wonder Chen Jian fell for her at first sight beneath the peach blossoms. I raised my hand to stop my mother. Mother, it's already come to this. I've always treated Lu Huan as family. I don't want her to suffer either. She and the young Marquis love each other, why not let them be? Let her marry as our adopted daughter. My mother stared at me in disbelief. Have you gone mad? No matter how close you two are, this is too much. I took her hand gently. Mother, Chen Jian cares only for her face. Let's give him what he wants. At least we gain a new family tie from this. Lu Huan looked at my mother with hopeful eyes. I sneered inwardly, your good days are yet to come. Eventually, under my persuasion, my mother agreed. The next day, she officially adopted Lu Huan. Lu Huan timidly served tea to my parents in the acceptance ceremony. My mother didn't spare her a single glance. She simply said coldly, I've issued a decree, no one in this manor is to speak of what happened. From now on, your future is up to your own fate. Thank you, Master. Madam, and you, Miss Li. It was said that Qin Jian bent over backward to secure this marriage. He went on hunger strikes, threatened to take his life. Until finally, his parents relented. Lu Huan got exactly what she wanted. On an auspicious day, she married into the Marquis's household under the guise of the Duke's adopted daughter. I told my father to invite someone special to the wedding banquet. A guest from the Ministry of Justice. Deputy Minister Wang Qian, mentor to Lu Xing. If Wang Qian came, Lu Xing would surely accompany him. Regardless of reason or etiquette, I had to meet my savior. It was said Lu Xing was truly talented. When his father, once the imperial historian, was falsely accused, Wang Qian saw through the lies and overturned the case. Lu Xing could have taken the official exam. But his family was poor, and he chose civil service over risking his ailing mother's well-being. In my past life, when I died, he was still only a fifth-rank official. But now I saw with my own eyes, it was no mere rumor. On the wedding day, our manor was bright with lanterns and ribbons. Red silk fluttered like fire, blanketing everything in crimson glow. It reminded me of the great fire that consumed me once before. My chest felt heavy, I couldn't sit still. I stepped out to greet the guests. People arrived in waves, streaming toward the inner courtyard. But still, no sign of Lu Xing. Father, why hasn't the Ministry of Justice arrived yet? Maybe they're delayed. Why do you care so much? He gave me a curious look. It's just small talk, the banquet's starting soon. Look, there they are. My father immediately stepped forward, warmly greeting Deputy Minister Wang. And next to him, I spotted Lu Xing at once. His presence stood out like a pine tree piercing the sky. Even in plain robes, he exuded upright dignity. Our eyes met, and he nodded politely. He was every bit the refined gentleman people spoke of. In my past life, as a drifting soul, I never got a good look at him. Now, I finally saw him clearly. Eyebrows like mountain blades, eyes like spring water. A face like carved jade, noble and bright. A man beyond compare. I don't know if I imagined it. But when he bowed, there was a flicker of emotion in his gaze. Something deep, something complicated. But one thing I was certain of. I had never met him in this life, until now. I withdrew my gaze and stepped inside with the others. The moment I entered the main hall, the suffocating air pressed down again. My parents were chatting with guests, smiling flawlessly. One would never guess that in private, they could curse someone's ancestors down 18 generations without blinking. I quickly lost interest in watching them. My eyes drifted across the hall. Everyone wore masks, some of politeness, some of ambition. Who could tell what was genuine? Only one person quietly sipped his tea alone. He nodded in response only when spoken to by colleagues. So poor at socializing, no wonder he rose so slowly in rank. I sighed inwardly on behalf of his career. Still, he carried himself with integrity. The eyes of every madam and young lady in the room trailed after him. Yet he seemed entirely unbothered. Sensing my gaze, he turned and met my eyes. I tilted my head, avoiding his line of sight. Pretended to join the young ladies in idle chatter. Qingning, Chao Yan leaned in with curiosity. Since when did your family take in an adopted daughter? Wasn't Lu Huan your maid? Lu Huan has always been my parents' adopted daughter, I replied with a calm expression, lies slipping effortlessly from my lips. I was an only child. My parents took her in so I'd have a companion. I see, she said, seemingly satisfied. To avoid further questions, I made an excuse and slipped outside for some air. In my past life, Lu Huan resented me because of Qinjian. That resentment led her to destroy my family. In this life, I delivered her straight into his arms, made her the Marquis's bride. Surely now, she had no more reason to hate me. Once, she loved him so fiercely she'd die for him. But now, with no support from my family, no dowry to back the Marquis's declining household, I wanted to see just how long their love could sustain them. Miss Li. A voice interrupted my thoughts. I turned. Lord Lu. He didn't seem comfortable in this kind of gathering. He gave a slight nod. I admit I'm not used to these events. You strike me as a man of action. A banquet like this must feel like a waste of time. That's not it, he replied. I raised a brow slightly. I wasn't sure if he was responding to the first part or the second. His gaze met mine, deep and composed. I noticed your complexion looked unwell inside. Are you feeling all right? He asked. My heart wavered for a brief moment. Nothing serious. Just felt a little suffocated in there. And you, Lord Lu? The same. A moment of silence hung between us. Then I asked the question that had been quietly gnawing at my mind. Have we met before? He paused, body stiffening almost imperceptibly. His eyes dimmed slightly. I didn't press him. I simply watched him. Even just admiring his face was reward enough. After a long moment, he finally said slowly, it's a little embarrassing. 2 years ago, I brought my mother to the capital to appeal my father's wrongful case. We were penniless. Our clan elders treated us like the plague. We had no choice but to shelter in an alley behind a tavern. I was starving and wanted to beg, but my mother wouldn't let me stoop so low. It was you, Miss Li, you tossed down pastries from the balcony. You saved us that day. I tried to thank you, but we were too poor. The innkeeper wouldn't let me up. All I remembered was that you were from the Duke's household. He said all this with a straight back and clear voice, no shame at all in recounting his past poverty. A mindset like that, rare. I had only heard of his hardship before. I never imagined it was so dire, merely reduced to begging. No wonder he didn't sit the civil exams then. I vaguely recalled that day. I'd been dining upstairs with some ladies. We'd heard a scuffle outside and peeked down. A mother and son, dignified even in desperation. Their manner of speech refined. I'd tossed them a few pastries and some silver out of impulse. Not long after, someone returned the silver. Back then, I had called him a fool. Who would have thought that man was Lu Xing? If that's the case, then perhaps I finally understood why he helped me in my past life. Such a small act, and yet fate had tied us together again. His eyes sparkled, a glimmer like reflected water. I found myself staring. Your kindness that day, he said softly, Lu Xing has never forgotten. If there is ever anything you need, please command me. I waved a hand lightly. I've told you, it was nothing. Just a few pastries, not worth speaking of. Besides, you've already repaid that debt. It's been quite a while. We should head back before someone notices, I added. He glanced at the sky and said no more about gratitude. Very well. I'll go on ahead. He followed 10 paces behind, matching my stride without missing a beat. From afar, I could already see my mother bustling about. There, we parted ways. Mother. Qingning. Where have you run off to? Your little sister is about to leave for her wedding. Go take a look. She turned away to entertain more guests. I sighed and shook my head, then picked up some pastries and made my way to the bridal quarters. Knock, knock, knock. Come in. Sister, I brought you some snacks, I said gently. Don't skip eating just because of nerves. She glanced at the tray, her expression flickering between confusion and conflict. As if waging a war inside. My lady. I don't deserve such kindness from you. Don't say that, I replied, voice light. We grew up together. Surely we won't become enemies over one man. But my words only made her more agitated. I truly don't deserve it, she sobbed, tears falling like pearls. Regret. Shame. Maybe both. But none of that changed the truth. That she had once been ruthlessly cruel. I softened my voice again. Don't cry. It's your wedding day. You don't want to greet the groom with red, puffy eyes. I led her to the dressing table and began touching up her makeup. Look at you, I said. Fair cheeks, soft blush, you look like a flower in bloom. No wonder the young Marquis is head over heels for you. A beauty like this, even I'm tempted. My lady. I will remember your kindness. And I, yours, I said quietly. We hadn't spoken more than a few words when... Click. The door swung open. The bride is ready for the sedan. The bridal maid called. Several handmaids rushed in. Surrounded by a flock of handmaids, Lu Huan stepped forward slowly, each move like a performance. I escorted her all the way to the front gate. Chen Jian sat atop a tall steed, radiant with triumph. Like a victorious general returning from war, reveling in his prize. He tossed coins into the crowd as he rode, smug and delighted. After the bridal sedan disappeared down the road, we returned to the banquet hall. It was as though a brief interlude had passed. Everyone resumed their eating and drinking, laughter and conversation filling the room again. But deep inside, everyone knew. There was no way the Li family suddenly had a second daughter out of nowhere. That very day, the moment Lu Huan stepped into the Marquis residence, the old madam struck swiftly, forcing her to kneel in silence for 2 hours without food or drink. Chen Jian pitied her, yet didn't dare defy his mother. Lu Huan, ever skilled at feigning fragility, played her part to perfection. Her suffering in his name only deepened Chen Jian's affection. On her return visit to my family, they came in grand fashion. Trunks upon trunks of gifts paraded in. Chen Jian personally helped her down from the carriage. The two clinging to one another like the picture of newlywed bliss. Petty man, my mother scoffed. But she still stepped forward to take Lu Huan's hand kindly. Huaner, dear son-in-law, why bring so much? We don't lack anything here. Lu Huan glanced at Chen Jian with mock shyness. I told him that, but he insisted. Said if we brought too little on the first visit, people would call us stingy. She then cast a smug look my way. As if I wouldn't see right through her little victory pose. I smiled, playing along. You're so lucky, sister. Your husband truly spoils you. I can't help but envy you. I added a soft sigh, tinged with just the right touch of jealousy. Chen Jian scratched his head, awkward but flattered. Lu Huan beamed. Her pride nearly floated her off the ground. You'll find your perfect match too, sister, she said sweetly. Chen Jian then began talking politics with my father. I took Lu Huan aside for a private chat. She began complaining immediately about her mother-in-law's harsh treatment. She was often forced to stand for hours, scolded for the slightest misstep. She even muttered that Chen Jian never defended her. But every time she spoke of him, her cheeks turned pink. Clearly, the love was real. She suddenly caught herself mid-sentence and glanced up, sheepish. You're not upset, are you? I flicked her forehead gently. Do I look like someone so petty? Seeing you live well is all I could ask for. Then I leaned in and spoke seriously. Sister, what matters most now is winning your husband's heart. He'll be busy with social affairs, pay attention to who he interacts with. As for your mother-in-law, she's old. Eventually, the household will be yours to manage. Lu Huan nodded, resting her head against my shoulder. I held her gently, suppressing the overwhelming urge to tear her apart. Oh, right. Have you told your in-laws about the child? She sat up quickly, a shadow falling over her face. Not yet. They're prideful. If they find out, they'll just use it as another excuse to torment me. Troublesome in-laws indeed, I said softly. But your husband adores you. He'll figure something out. If it comes to it, just claim it was a miscarriage. One step at a time, she murmured. After dinner, they left for the Marquis residence. Meanwhile, I followed the lead from Lu Xing's past investigation. Tracked down the former deputy of the Court of Judicature who had once worked with Chen Jian. Now, he was just a low-ranking clerk. But I remembered clearly. Back when my soul was fading, Lu Xing had reported that Wang Min had committed suicide. That everything had been cleared up. But I had doubts. A coward like him wouldn't kill himself unless he had something to hide. Something big. And with his rapid rise, 2 promotions in 2 years. This wasn't something someone like Chen Jian could have pulled off on his own. There had to be a bigger player behind them. My people shadowed his family day and night. Finally, on the night of the full moon, a man in black came to the house. He was meticulous. Not even the hem of his robe revealed a clue. No traces. No identity. But I wasn't in a hurry. There would be a next time. Meanwhile, trouble was already brewing in Lu Huan's camp. The Marquis household was bleeding silver. Chen Jian, desperate to please her, spent like water. The old madam was furious but couldn't bear to scold her beloved son. So all the blame fell on Lu Huan. But she had already started treating herself as the lady of the house. They fought often, voices raised, tempers flaring. Until her handmaid finally delivered the news. The child in Lu Huan's womb was gone. That method. I recognized it well. I hadn't expected her to go so far, using her unborn child as leverage against the old madam of the Marquis household. Lu Huan was still the same as in my previous life, vicious to the bone. Chen Jian, heartbroken over the loss of his heir, for once actually stood up to his mother. From then on, their relationship soured. Though they didn't formally separate households, he remained cloistered with Lu Huan, keeping to their wing of the estate. But that old woman had it coming. In my past life, it was she who drained my betrothal gifts dry. Now. Poetic justice. The old madam couldn't stomach the conflict. She cut off their monthly allowance. And so, the once proud lovers were soon plunged into hardship. Even a simple outing became a luxury. At first, I thought she might turn to us for help. But then, out of nowhere, she was flush with wealth again. Sister, today's shopping is on me. Lu Huan announced with a triumphant grin, patting her chest. Oh. Have you struck gold? I asked. She hesitated briefly, then forced a smile. Not really, just a little investment that brought some profit. Pocket money, that's all. Oh. Business ventures. How impressive, I replied, feigning admiration. But tell me, what kind of business yields such quick returns? I already had my suspicions, though not yet confirmation. She didn't want to answer. Instead, she picked up a hairpin. Sister, what do you think of this one? It's fine, I said blandly. With a wave of her hand, she swept through the shop, purchasing nearly everything in sight. I stared, wide-eyed, as handmaids and servants trailed behind us, carrying armfuls of boxes and bags. Hona, with so much stuff, won't your husband be displeased? Oh, no, she replied with a little laugh. It's not like I'm paying. As soon as the words slipped out, she froze, then clamped a hand over her mouth. And with that, I was certain. Rebirth or not, she hadn't changed a bit. Honor, I said, my tone calm but cold, a true lady treasures wealth, but acquires it through honorable means. Don't tread down the wrong path. She scoffed and nodded. Of course, we're doing legitimate business. Afraid she'd slip again, she hurriedly gathered her entourage and left the shop. I'd said my piece. If she insisted on marching toward her own ruin, I wouldn't stop her. Another full moon approached. Since that night the man in black visited Wang Min. Nearly a month had passed with no further contact. But I had a hunch he would appear again tonight. In tales of espionage, men of shadows often had fixed schedules, using the full moon as a signal for rendezvous and information exchange. I donned a dark cloak and lay in wait. The courtyard across from Wang Min's residence was one I had rented specifically for surveillance. Same hour as before. The masked man crept up and knocked. The rhythm of his knocking was deliberate. The door opened immediately from the inside. The night was pitch black. His appearance and clothing were hidden from view. But when he raised his hand to knock, moonlight gleamed faintly across his fingers. There, a callus, an indent. A habit of wearing a jade ring. Even while knocking, he couldn't help rubbing the familiar groove. My mind raced through a mental list, court officials known for wearing jade rings. Just then, a shadow flashed past the corner of my vision. I tensed. So, I wasn't the only one keeping watch. The enemy of my enemy could be a friend. I slipped after him, tailing him through a narrow alley beside Wang Min's home. But this one clearly lacked any skill in stealth. Even climbing a wall seemed beyond him. After several failed attempts, I couldn't help but whisper. Need a hand. He spun around sharply. His gaze was cautious, yet deep and intense. Cornered. But still dignified. I stepped out of the shadows, scaled the wall with ease, and offered my hand. Come, I said. Luckily, I had secretly practiced a few climbing techniques beforehand. He hesitated for only a breath, then placed his hand into mine. The moonlight revealed his features slowly, unmistakably. And most striking of all, he wasn't masked. Lu Xing. He froze at the sound of his name, a chill flashing in his eyes. I tugged down my own veil. It's me. His eyes widened, disbelief written all over his face. Inside the house, hushed voices floated out. The master has promised, if you follow the plan, all that you desire will be granted. Please thank the master for me. They murmured further, but we couldn't catch the rest. I tapped Lu Xing lightly, signaling him to descend. I jumped first, reaching up to catch him. I thought he might hesitate. After all, what man would want a woman to break his fall? But he didn't. He leapt, without a moment's pause. Startled, I nearly missed the catch. Who's there? A shout rang from the house. They had heard us. I grabbed Lu Xing and sprinted toward the small courtyard I had rented. Before we had time to catch our breath, the door creaked open. They stepped out, scanning the surroundings. After a moment, hearing no movement, the man in black muttered a few words and left. Inside, I turned to look at Lu Xing, usually upright, composed, proper. Big brother Lu, I said, teasing, you're so honest. Not even a mask. He answered without flinching. With my skills, if I'm caught, a mask won't save me. If I'm not caught, there's no need for one. Bold words. I couldn't help but laugh. You've got guts, I'll give you that. But tailing someone without cover. Might as well write kill me on your back. His gaze flickered with hesitation. There are things I must uncover. I paused. Yes. Even in this life, he was determined to solve the case that shattered my family. Unless he had begun to suspect something too. His astonished gaze met mine. I took a deep breath and gave a wry smile. It seems, fate binds us tighter than we thought. His lashes trembled slightly before he lowered his head and gave a faint smile. Indeed. But Miss Lee, for you to come here in the dead of night, it's far too dangerous. You look like the one more likely to die here than I am, I shot back without hesitation. He faltered slightly, embarrassed by my blunt retort. My apologies. I've dragged you into this. If anything, I should thank you. You didn't have to go this far for my sake. His expression turned serious. It's not only for you. This concerns the empire itself. In my previous life, just as Lu Xing's investigation reached Wang Min, the man died suddenly. And Lu Xing was soon surrounded by shadowy forces, nearly destroyed. You have a suspect already? I asked. Prince Chang. You're sure? He shook his head. No concrete proof. Not yet. Prince Chang was one of the emperor's closest confidants. Instrumental in helping Crown Prince Jiao Wu ascend the throne. After Jiao Wu became emperor, wealth flowed endlessly into Prince Chang's estate. But it was never enough. Earlier, I said, that man wore a finger ring. Do you know anyone in the court who often wears one? Lu Xing fell into thought. Then a flash of recognition lit his eyes. Before it quickly dimmed. You thought of someone, I pressed. No. It couldn't be him. I need to reconsider. Then when you do figure it out, tell me. Dawn is near. I have to return. He suddenly called out behind me. Miss Li. Yes. Be careful on your way back. I glanced at him. I will. The next morning, I sat at breakfast, chin in hand, eyes heavy from a sleepless night. My parents were clearly displeased. Where did you go last night? Mother asked. Nowhere, I lied. Couldn't sleep. Father's brow creased with suspicion. Qingning, lately you've changed. You seem like a different person. Is that so? Don't get us wrong, Mother interjected. You've become calmer, more mature. What was I like before? Both paused in thought. Lively, said one. Proud, said the other. Spirited, they agreed together. I frowned. Are you sure that was me? I couldn't believe such words had once described me. From the moment I married into the Marquis household in my previous life, there hadn't been a single peaceful day. Tormented daily by those two despicable creatures. My parents constantly worried for me. The pain and helplessness had carved so deeply into my soul. I had forgotten who I once was. I had a dream, I said softly. In the dream, our family was falsely accused of treason. Everything fell apart. It felt so real, I couldn't tell if it was just a dream. My parents exchanged a glance. Father scratched his head, baffled. Why dream such a thing? I've lived an honest life, made no enemies. Who would want to frame me? Qingning, Mother said gently. Are you still unsettled over Lu Huan's situation? They both looked at me, worry written across their faces. No, I said, forcing a smile. Let's eat. I picked up a steamed bun and began to chew slowly. They didn't press further. But my thoughts spun toward something else. Lu Xing's suspicion of Prince Chang. A man beloved by the emperor, free to travel between his fief and the capital without restriction. If he truly wanted to rebel, he had every advantage. Wealth. Power. Mobility. Father, I asked suddenly, do you know Prince Chang well? His expression changed at once, his face paling. Do you think he is the one who wronged us? No, no. I was just curious, I replied. After all, it was only a dream, right? Father exhaled, but then said thoughtfully. Well, dreams might not be just dreams. Sometimes the heavens send warnings. He continued slowly. Prince Chang was born to the emperor's most beloved consort. His mother had him in old age, and the emperor treasured him greatly. He was granted the most prosperous fief. When the throne was contested, he helped eliminate the third prince. To avoid suspicion, He volunteered to leave the capital afterward and wouldn't return unless summoned. Once Yao Wu ascended, he treated this younger brother with utmost favor, reducing his taxes, showering him with gold and jewels annually. Their brotherhood, father concluded, was admired across the realm. I doubt it's him, he added with a shake of the head. Suddenly, I remembered something. Wasn't Prince Cheng's mother once romantically involved with a court official? Mother frowned, trying to recall. Father's eyes lit up as he slammed his palm on the table. Wang Qian. That's it, it was him. Yes, yes. Mother nodded in agreement. They were childhood sweethearts. But no one knows why she was chosen for the palace. My thoughts froze for a second. Then everything became startlingly clear. If that's true, then many things now made perfect sense. But Wang Qian was Lu Xing's mentor. Thinking back on his reaction last night. Father, does Minister Wang Qian wear a jade ring on his hand? Father paused, surprised. Yes. He always wears a green jade band. Why do you ask? Damn it. That stubborn Lu Xing, frail as he was, loved to act tough. No doubt he'd go charging in alone again. Father, do you have someone trustworthy with solid martial skills? I do. But what are you planning? Have them follow Lu Xing in secret. Protect him. But isn't he on the same side as Wang Qian? Why protect him? Because, in my dream, it was Lu Xing who investigated our case and tried to reverse the verdict. He was killed for it. Brutally. His body never recovered. Father didn't fully understand, but he still nodded and gave the order. The truth was becoming clearer. Wang Qian was most likely a subordinate of Prince Chang. It was even possible that he was the one who lured Qin Jian into the plot. But in my past life, even when the Dingyuan Marquis estate was searched, no letters or correspondence were found. So how did they communicate? Several days later, in the dead of night, a rumble shook the outskirts of the capital. Mountains collapsed with a roar that shook the heavens, startling nobles awake in every corner of the city. Panic swept through the capital. The emperor issued an immediate decree to investigate. And what they found was a massive, hidden smelting facility. But it was already abandoned. Only a few blacksmiths remained, silent, dull-eyed, unable or unwilling to speak. Lu Xing and Wang Qian had both vanished. Even the shadow guards I'd set found no trace. Wang Qian was declared the prime suspect. But not everyone believed it. Some insisted he must have discovered something, and was silenced to prevent him from speaking. Perhaps. His upright and honest image was dangerously convincing. His residence was surrounded by imperial guards, locked down tighter than a drum. A few days later, I summoned Lu Huan. She looked haggard, frightened and anxious. Even the smallest sound made her flinch. Hona, what's wrong? I asked gently. She twisted her hands unconsciously. Sister, did you hear about the mountains outside the city? They say it's related to the deputy minister. My heart stirred. But I kept calm, sipping my tea. I've heard. The emperor already sent people to capture him. They'll have him soon. My father has informants. Word is, he's already been caught and is being escorted back to the capital. You don't need to worry. Her teacup trembled in her hands, then slipped. Crash. It shattered across the floor. What's wrong? I asked. She paled, then suddenly fell to her knees. Sister, please, help me. What happened? Stand up and talk. No, my husband and I, we followed Minister Wang's orders. If he confesses, we're doomed. What? A roar exploded in my mind. You fool! That's treason. You too, you have to turn yourselves in. No, we'll die if we do. Think clearly. If he gets brought back and talks, you'll die anyway. But if you confess and name the mastermind, there's still a chance for redemption. She faltered. Hona, listen to me. If you turn yourself in, I'll ask my father to help. No. He won't help me. I'm not his real daughter. But you're his adopted daughter. If anything happens to you, he'll be implicated too. Please, Honor, I said, my tone softening. It's the only way out. Her resistance faded. Do you have any letters? Proof of their contact with you. We can use it as evidence. She shook her head, looking crushed. No. It was always Madame Wang who passed messages to us secretly. What? My heart sank. No proof, how could we expose them? Wait, she did send invitations for private banquets. I've kept those. Also, there were silver drafts, payment. She dropped her head, ashamed. That's good enough. Bring them. Submit your confession. If we can prove Wang Qian's crime, the emperor will investigate further. He'll eventually uncover Prince Chang's involvement. Just then, my shadow guard returned with news. Lu Xing had infiltrated the enemy camp. He was now in Nanyang, the territory of Prince Chang. Not only that. He'd gained Wang Qian's trust. I couldn't help but scoff. Of course Wang Qian thought Lu Xing could be won over. Grateful for old debts, hardened by a youth of poverty, easily tempted by power. But not everyone could be blinded by gold and titles. Following the trail from Madame Wang, Emperor Ye Wu began rooting out others. More than 10 officials were implicated. Prince Cheng's ambitions were finally laid bare. Lu Huan, along with the noble women and officials' wives who had conspired with Wang Qian, were arrested and sent to the Ministry of Justice for interrogation. I went to see her. She huddled in the corner of a dark, damp cell, trembling. Rats scurried by her feet, the stench of filth heavy in the air. I curled my lips into a faint smile. This is the life she truly deserved. I stepped up to the bars. Ajie. Ajia, save me. She sobbed. I shed a few theatrical tears, my voice laced with concern. Hona, don't worry. Father is already trying to find a way. The emperor has tasked him with capturing the traitor. Once he succeeds, we'll be hailed as heroes, and I'll make sure to plead for your release. I'm so scared. There are rats and cockroaches, she whimpered. I was just about to comfort her further when... You wretched little snake! Screeched a shrill voice from the adjacent cell. I gave you so much silver, and you dare betray us. It was Madame Wang. Lu Huan snapped back, well, whose fault is it your husband got caught so quickly? Why should I die with him? Lies. You liar. Madame Wang shrieked, her hair disheveled, her face gaunt with madness. Honor, ignore her, I said calmly. We'll find a way. I passed her a small packet of pastries. Eat. You'll need your strength. Glancing around the prison. Who would have thought that behind those grand households and elegant gowns lurked plots of treason and betrayal? Soon after, Prince Chang launched his rebellion, bringing Wang Qian and Lu Xing with him. In just 2 days, he seized 2 cities. The entire strategy had been orchestrated by Lu Xing. After those battles, Prince Chang trusted him deeply. So deeply that no military decision was made without him. The court responded swiftly. My father and General Ko Niam were dispatched to the front lines. I took command of 20,000 troops left behind and was tasked with defending the capital. Relying on intelligence secretly sent by Lu Xing, I set up ambushes along the likely invasion routes. That year, on the Dragon Boat Festival, the capital was absent its usual joy and cheer. Just as predicted, waves of soldiers disguised as refugees entered the city. I led 5,000 elite troops to intercept them. There were only 800 enemies. But they fought like demons. It took everything I had to capture them alive. Clearly, they had been preparing for this moment for years. Meanwhile, the front lines stalled. What had once been a 7-3 advantage for our forces was now deadlocked. Prince Cheng's golden armored guard fought with terrifying strength. Each one could take on 10 men. Word spread that clever civilians had begun packing up and fleeing the capital. Even the palace had begun contingency planning. Daily war reports poured in. One more loss, and the rebel army would surge southward in victory. No one slept that night. I had already lived through death once. I wouldn't let it happen again. By midnight the next day, a scout arrived in breathless haste. Lu Xing had destroyed the rebels' food supplies from within. He'd set fire to their entire stockpile. But while doing so, he was discovered by a soldier and cut with a blade. Only a few lines in the report, but I could imagine how dangerous that must have been. Even the fiercest soldiers need food. Without it, no army could fight. Prince Cheng's forces crumbled. The tide had turned for good. Lu Xing returned to the capital alongside my father. 5 days later, the carriage arrived at our gate. My father stepped out first. I breathed a sigh of relief seeing him safe. But my eyes quickly turned to the inside of the carriage. "Hey, what are you looking at?" Father teased, stepping into my line of sight. A daughter of marriageable age, shamelessly staring at a man. Mother tugged him aside with a subtle glance. Lu Xing achieved great merit this time, and he's wounded. Of course she's concerned. Lu Xing stepped down slowly. Always slender, he now looked pale and weary. The long journey and his injuries had clearly taken a toll. "Madam Li, Miss Li," he said with a faint bow. "Forgive me for troubling you." Mother stepped forward to grasp his hand kindly. "You must be starving. Come inside and eat." "No need, Aunt," he replied. "My mother's waiting for me at home." "You'll only worry her more if you return like this," I interjected. "Why not rest here for the night, recover a bit, then return tomorrow? Better yet, we could invite your mother to stay with us." The moment I finished speaking, I realized my words were too bold. Silence fell. My parents looked at me, caught between amusement and awkwardness. Only Lu Xing smiled, the corners of his mouth curling up slightly. "No, I meant..." "Enough," Mother cut me off, her tone brisk. "Lu Xing, stay tonight. It's settled." Unable to refuse, he stayed. That night, once the others had retired, I went to check on him. He'd just finished rebandaging his wound. The blood still seeped faintly through the gauze. I wanted to see the injury, but he had wrapped it far too tightly. I scoffed, "You've got guts, I'll admit that." Sneaking into enemy lines with barely any skill at all. Someone had to do it. And Wang Qian trusted me. His voice softened, edged with bitterness. "I know how hard it must have been," I said gently. "To walk the line between loyalty and betrayal. But you did well." "I used this merit," he said, "to beg clemency for Wang Qian's family." He bowed his head. "If not for him, I'd have never made it this far. You've done enough. You owe no one anything now." At dawn, he returned to his estate. Our entire household saw him off at the gate. Suddenly, someone nudged my arm. I turned. It was my father, grinning mischievously. "Anything you'd like to tell me?" "No." "Don't play dumb," he said. "Lu Xing told me how you once helped him and his mother. It's like a story from those old romances, charcoal in a snowstorm and all that. And my daughter, of course, is the celestial maiden who saved him." "Father, enough." Mother stepped in, serious this time. "Lu Xing is upright, handsome, and capable. Do you really feel nothing at all?" I froze. 2 lifetimes. Lu Xing had proven himself loyal and dependable. But, would he ever feel the same? "Why not?" Mother said. Every time I mention you, his eyes light up. I laughed quietly. Hard to imagine such a serious man sitting through my father's ramblings. Still, there was one final thing I had to settle. Father, I said. About Lu Huan, you needn't worry anymore. Let her die. My parents paused, startled by my sudden shift. Qingning. Mother said hesitantly, why did you even let her marry into the Marquis household in the first place? Because, I said coldly, in that dream I had. It was she who destroyed me. She and Chen Jian conspired to frame our family, ruin our name, and take our lives. So if she wanted to marry him so badly, I simply let the river carry her downstream. By now, they no longer questioned the dreams. I see, Father said, nodding with admiration. You planned everything, struck two birds with one arrow. Well, I smiled faintly, dreams teach you a few things. Later, a prison clerk came to me. Lu Huan had sent a message, begging for help again. But people like her, greedy, ruthless, and unrepentant, should not live another day to harm others. I slipped the clerk a bit of silver. Make it swift. It was the least I could do, to repay the years of torment she inflicted on me. In the days that followed, my father found many excuses to invite Lu Xing over. Everyone in the household understood what it meant. And compared to all others, he was the best choice. So the next time he accidentally walked past my door, I stopped him. On our wedding day, the entire manor was dressed in vibrant red. I once again wore the bridal gown, phoenix crown, silk and gold. But this time, the fear, the trauma, the vengeance, all were gone. Because I knew he wouldn't betray me. So I was willing to try again. To love again. That night, he gently lifted my red veil with a jade ruby. Candlelight danced in the air. His cheeks were slightly flushed, but his gaze never left mine. Nangzi. Fujuan. The red curtain fell. Breaths intertwined. Desire bloomed. The end.